Barbara Walters, the Today girl who became a legendary journalist. She once said, "I was the kind nobody thought could make it. I had a funny Boston accent, I couldn't pronounce my R's, I wasn't a beauty." For decades, she has proven everyone who doubted her to be utterly wrong. Barbara Walters was an American broadcast journalist, author, and television personality who has hosted shows including The Today Show, The View, 2020, and the ABC Evening News. She said, "I have affected the way women are regarded, and that's important to me." Barbara Jill Walters was born on September 25, 1929, in Boston, Massachusetts, and died December 30, 2022, in New York at the age of 93. Her parents, Dana and Lou Walters, were children of Russian Jewish immigrants. Her father managed the Latin Quartet nightclubs in Boston, worked as a Broadway producer, entertainment director of Tropicana Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, and also imported the Folies Bergère stage show from Paris. Barbara Walters' older brother Burton was 14 months old when he died from pneumonia, and her elder sister Jacqueline was born with mental disabilities and died of ovarian cancer in 1985. Her father made and lost several fortunes throughout his life in show business until he finally lost all his nightclubs and family penthouse. The government took their house, furniture, and car. Her parents remained married for nearly 60 years despite their tortuous relationship, as Barbara Walters once wrote. Her childhood was saved by her complicated relationship with her elder sister Jacqueline. Barbara attended both public and private schools and graduated from the Sarah Lawrence College in 1951 with a degree in English, and then she worked at a small advertising agency for a year. After that, she went to work at the NBC network affiliate in New York City, where she began her career as a writer-producer of a news and info program. In 1955, she started as a writer on the CBS morning show, but in the early 1960s, her career began to skyrocket when she became a writer and researcher for the Today Show until the 1974, when she became co-host of the program, the first woman to hold such a position on an American news program. At that time, it was still early in the second wave of the women's movement, and no one took a woman presenting hard news seriously. And there were difficulties with news anchors like Frank McGee, who demanded preferential treatment as she started to cross over into news anchors' territory. After McGee passed away in 1974, NBC at last promoted Barbara to the position of co-host, the first woman ever to rise to such position on any U.S. news program. In 1976, she continued to be a pioneer for women in broadcasting while becoming the first U.S. female co-anchor of a network evening news program along Harry Reasoner. From 1979 to 2004, she became known for an annual special aired on ABC, Barbara Walters' 10 Most Fascinating People. During her career, she interviewed every sitting U.S. President and First Lady, from the Nixons to Donald Trump when he was still a candidate, but interviewed also controversial subjects such as Fidel Castro, Vladimir Putin, Katharine Hepburn, Sean Connery, Michael Jackson, Anna Wintour, Monica Lewinsky, and many more. But it was her Barbara Walters special more than anything else that made her a star. The special, which began in 1976, made Walters as famous, or nearly as famous, as the people she interviewed. At a time when politicians tended to be reserved and celebrities elusive, Walters coaxed kings, presidents, and matinee idols to answer starlight, intimate questions. She was a celebrity journalist who reveled in the role, driving a motorcycle with Sylvester Stallone, dancing with Patrick Swayze, riding a patrol boat with Fidel Castro across the Bay of Pigs. She was the reporter who urged Mr. Carter to be good to us and asked the former White House intern Monica Lewinsky in an interview that attracted some 50 million viewers why she kept that stained blue dress that had figured in the sex scandal involving President Bill Clinton. Many objected to her cozy at times glowing manner with the guests, as well as her apparent determination to bring her interviewees to tears. She even made General Norman Schwarzkopf, the commander of Allied forces in the Persian Gulf War, cry when she asked about his father in 1991. Throughout her career, Barbara Walters raised eyebrows by courting high society and cultivating friendships with high-placed officials. The Shah of Iran was her friend, and so were Roy Cohn and Brooke Astor. She was the only female television reporter on President Nixon's trip to China in 1972. When the former Israeli Foreign Minister Moshe Dayan died in 1981, she lent his wife Raquel a black dress for the funeral. Her ambition and competitive spirit never let up. She was in Vietnam on vacation when Michael Jackson died in 2009 and spent across 8,000 miles and many time zones to sit with the Jackson's family at the memorial in Los Angeles and to host a special tribute in 2020. The View was yet another ratings triumph for Barbara Walters, who created it with Billy Jedy and served as an executive producer in addition to frequently appearing on camera as a member of the show's all-female panel, which over the years also included Whoopi Goldberg, Meredith Vieira, and many others. Which is in its 26th season, is now seen in several countries and has inspired imitation. By the end of her career, Barbara Walters showed herself as a guardian of old-school journalistic values. For her final 2020, interviewed as a co-host in 2004, ABC News closed Mary Kayla Turner. She was a school teacher who went to jail for having an affair with a student over President George W. Bush. On May 12, 2014, 4 days before her last day on The View, the ABC News building on the Upper West Side of Manhattan was renamed the Barbara Walters Building. At the ceremony, she said, "I'm not going to cry. I make other people cry, but I'm not going to cry." Barbara Walters, she was a perfectionist, did her own research, wrote her own questions on index cards, and was often her own best editor. In her autobiography editions, she expressed that her greatest ungotten gets were Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis and Diana, Princess of Wales. She also had some regrets, like the interview of Latin pop star Ricky Martin, who pressed him during her interview to say whether he was gay or not. He evaded the question and did not come out until 10 years later. Barbara Walters sings, "Being surrounded by celebrities when I was young kept me from being in awe of them. To feel valued, to know even if only once in a while that you can do a job well, is an absolutely marvelous feeling." Her personal life. She married 4 times, 3 different men. Robert Henry Kanch, Lee Huber, with whom they adopted a baby girl named Jacqueline Dana Huber, and last Merv Adelson, with whom they married twice and finally got divorced. Her daughter Jacqueline, or Jackie as they called her, grew up in a normal and steady home, but she still was a celebrity's daughter. When she turned 14 years old, everything began to go wrong. Jackie was doing drugs. They changed her schools, but at the end she ran away. When they tracked her down, they enrolled her in an alternative school. She stayed there for 3 years, and after that, Jackie turned her life around. She now lives in Maine and runs New Horizon, a therapeutic wilderness program for adolescent girls in crisis. Barbara Walters said, "Motherhood is tough. If you just want a wonderful little creature to love, you can get a puppy." Barbara Walters, a pioneer, a legendary journalist, a fearless Iron woman who left a legacy behind her for all women in the world. Thank you for listening to one of my amazing stories. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to listen more in the future. If you have a special request for a person of your interest, write it in the comments below and leave it on me.